Dr. Bill Rosenberg, William Rosenberg, professor of political science at Drexel University, joins us from time to time to talk politics. He is, among other things, co-author of News Verdicts, The Debates and Presidential Campaigns. He is tweeting at Dr. B. Rosenberg. Bill, welcome back. Thanks for being here this morning.
Good morning.
First business, any lessons to take from last week's election, the special election in Alabama, where Doug Jones, the Democrat, defeated the Republican Roy Moore?
Well, I think that you can look at this election in Alabama as perhaps the beginning of a trend line of Democratic voters becoming a little bit more energized. We had the victory of the governor in Virginia. Now the election in Alabama. There are groups that have been, quote, called the Democratic base that appear to be turning out in much larger numbers than they have in the past couple of elections. And for Democrats, that's very good news. For Republicans, that does not bode very well.
We'll have to see how it plays out in future elections. We have the tax bill we expect to vote probably tomorrow in the Senate. And I wonder, thinking about this, obviously Republicans and Democrats are both arguing with each other over the merits of this legislation, including long-term benefits or problems. I wonder if Republicans are hoping, yes, number one, they can say they got something done, but number two, people see paychecks that are a little bit larger, regardless of what rich people do. If everyone sees an increase in their paycheck come next year, that maybe they'll start thinking better of Republicans. It may be a short-term strategy or not. How do you view this?
Well, I think one of the things that's really amazing is that this tax bill, very poorly understood, I think, by many, and perhaps reasonably so, because many of the things get phased in and phased out over time, and for people to be able to keep track of it, it's very difficult. That, in a sense, that the individual who is working a job may see a change, but the change is going to be disproportionate across the country. I think this new tax plan seems to be targeted particularly against communities that are states that tend to be more democratic. So as a result, the hurt will be paid more by states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, California, and not really felt so much in terms of, for example, the real estate tax cap on many other parts of the country, so that we don't have necessarily a level playing field. What we do have as a level playing field is the fact that most Americans are opposed to what they're being told is a middle-class tax cut. About 57% of the public says they don't like it. Business community obviously does, but the business community has also told the Trump administration that they don't really plan on hiring more people or raising wages. So maybe it's going to be good for shareholders. Maybe it's going to drive the stock market up higher. But the extent to which individuals are going to feel sort of a great large mess is probably going to be not evenly distributed among the public and not long term.
And I wonder again if this, thinking about some of these arguments, and you've watched polls before. I remember when the Affordable Care Act, the polling first came out, nobody wanted it, and I think that was in some ways the way that Americans can be when it comes to certain changes. And if you think that maybe Republicans are just gambling that this feel-good feeling, even if it's only for a short time, extends through 2018, or if that's just a lost cause.
Well, I think one of the things that there's kind of from my perspective, sort of a grand strategy that's playing out here. That for the Republicans, they want to cut taxes, and that's generally a very appealing thought to almost everyone. The problem that really sort of faces us as we cut taxes, that means there's less revenue, which means there's less that government is going to be able to do. And while a lot of people say, well, I don't really want to have big government doing a lot of things for us, they forget about many of the things that big government does for them. And as a result, what's going to happen is I think it's going to put in jeopardy what we call the safety net, the things that are out there to help people in terms of education or healthcare or security. And as a result, the timing of this, particularly the timing of Paul Ryan announcing that he's probably going to leave Congress, this has been a long-term goal of his to reduce down the amount of money that's spent on that large safety net to make people sort of be off of the government's support network. So he's going to be leaving, claiming a great, championship for himself in terms of reducing taxes, but he's going to be gone when the real effect of the cuts come into play. And I think that's the point at which many people in America, regardless of whether they're lower class, middle class, or even upper middle class, are going to start feeling the real crunch, because there's going to be less money available to do less things to support the needs of most of Americans.
I just want to clarify, Paul Ryan has not announced that he's leaving. As a matter of fact, they've said that he is committed to seeing the Republican agenda through, although not a flat denial of reports that he's leaving. We talked to Tim, one of the reporters who had written about this the other day from Politico.
But I would agree. It's more of a leak. It's more of a trial balloon.
Right.
But the idea that it even gets talked about by one of the most powerful men in America is still
absolutely puts him in the position of being a lame duck too, which is not always the best place to be. I did want to ask specifically also about heading into 2018 and some of the other questions about the issues that are before us. I mean, the Russia investigation. We see most recent polls show that most people believe that the president might have done something wrong. Most people believe that that President Trump. Something happened there, although they don't necessarily believe that there was collusion between Russia and the U.S., and they believe that something happened with Russia. But it's still way down on the priority list when you talk about what the most important thing is. People are saying it's health, it's the economy, it's healthcare. How do the American people you deal with public opinion and polling all the time. How do they look at this Russia investigation? Is this something they see as noise, or do they see this as something that is vital to American interests?
Well, I don't think we've ever really faced, at least in my memory, a situation where the thought was that the President of the United States was not working in the interests of the American people in terms of our competition with foreign adversaries. This is kind of a very unusual situation. I think that, we have, going back to many past years, including Clinton when he ran in 1992, where the thought was, is the economy stupid? I mean, the economy is still a big driving factor, and people are concerned about that. So when you look at the relative impact of the Russian scandal versus the economy, it poses a little bit of a dilemma for many Americans in terms of what do they want to be most concerned about. At the end of the day, though, the impact of collusion, if it has occurred between the United States political leadership that we have now and the Russians, is damaging long term, because it's going to really undermine our ability to have a democratic process in the United States. So there's sort of a short-term game and a long-term game. The people in Congress, they may, if they're Republican, may want to try and quash this, but long-term, they are going to possibly be at the bad end of the stick in terms of meddling by either China or Russia or other countries. So they have to be very careful. And I think at the end of the day, we have to really think that, this economy that we have right now, when we're talking about having this major tax cut, is a little odd in the sense that we have a booming economy. Now's the time when the economy doesn't really have to be stimulated. Maybe the distribution about the resources that generate out of this booming economy might have to be thought about. But the stock market is higher than it's ever been. And to think that we need to stimulate the economy even more seems a bit odd. Maybe what we have to do is work to have the money that is raised through taxes sort of be more efficiently used, more effectively used, and more widely distributed.
You mean end corruption in Washington? Come now. What are you talking about, Bill? We're going to wrap it there, though. Dr. Bill Rosenberg, thanks so much.
All right. Have a great day. Take care.
Dr. William Rosenberg, professor of political science at Drexel University, joining us to talk about the politics of the week, tweeting at Dr. B. Rosenberg, at Dr. B. Rosenberg.